The Judo Chop Suey podcast is presented by Health IQ, a life insurance agency that helps health-conscious people lower their rates on their life insurance. Are you someone who takes care of their health and fitness and takes special care of themselves through proper nutrition? Do you lift weights or take part of a physical activity like judo, and I'm sure many of you listening do? Then visit www.healthiq.com/judo to learn more about Health IQ's special rates for active people like you and me. 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance, and these savings are exclusive to Health IQ customers. So if you want to learn more about how Health IQ can help you save on your life insurance, visit www.healthiq.com/judo to get a free rate quote and to learn more about Health IQ's special rates. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in podcast land. This is Judo Chop Suey podcast, and I'm your host, as always, Judo Dave Roman. What's going on, everybody? Hope you all doing well. Hope you all have stayed safe over the past 2 weeks. And I hope that you guys been improving on your judo. I can say for myself that I've had a pretty good past couple of weeks, judo related. And life related as well, but certainly judo related. I've talked about many times over the past several months of me trying to improve on my tai otoshi. I'm still trying to improve my tai otoshi, but I did fix something with the use of my hands that I didn't realize I was doing wrong. And what's interesting to me is that even after 12 years, learning, and I've said this before, you learn something new about the throw, you're practicing, and you learn something new about yourself. And I found out that, hate to admit it, sometimes when you practice techniques, I'm not saying you go through the motions, but you go through the motions of what you think is right, and you end up developing habits, even bad habits. And with my tai otoshi, I noticed that the use of my hands were not as ideal as I would like them to be. It's hard for me to explain, but there's a hand motion with the tai otoshi that wasn't living up to my satisfaction. And whether or not I shouldn't say whether or not it's correct. I just felt that my sleeve hand action was not efficient. It was not moving in the direction, in the way that I want it to move, because I want my tai otoshi to look a certain way. And while I'll never look like Neil Adams doing tai otoshi, I can pretend to look like Neil Adams doing tai otoshi. And there's something that Neil does with his sleeve hand that's a little different than what you see other people do. I'm not saying what other people do is more correct. It just creates a different looking throw, in my opinion, and it causes the uke to fall in a different way. So it was something that I tweaked. It's something that I have done for a very long time previously, but I went away from this hand motion in the way that I rotate uke's sleeve hands as they go over. And I made a tweak, and I'm happy to report that I actually kind of sort of like the way that I'm doing tai otoshi now. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's something that I managed to tweak. If you guys follow me on Facebook, or on Instagram, which is @LaVitaJudoka, you'll see a video that I posted a couple of weeks ago on the last time I was practicing tai otoshi, and I kind of said, tai otoshi, meh, whatever, because I was not pleased with the way that it was looking. But since that post, I made some tweaks, and now I am actually liking a little bit more how I'm doing my tai otoshi. And I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm sure many of you out there who have a really good critical eye can take a look at it and say, man, that thing's rubbish. But you know what? It's baby steps, baby steps to the door, baby steps out the door, baby steps, doing tai otoshi. So I'm taking little baby steps, making my tai otoshi more improved, and I'm very pleased that I'm coming along finally. And I'm back to recording myself doing judo, not because I'm vain and I want to publish everything on Instagram or Facebook or whatever the case may be. But there's so many little things that I see about how I do certain techniques, little things that I take for granted, because sometimes in my mind I'm thinking, well, it felt like he went over well on that throw, so I'm just going to keep doing the way that I've been doing things because it works. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's proper a lot of times. And I noticed something on my Ippon Seoinage, on my footwork, that I just think is complete rubbish. And even on the instances where Uke goes over and he feels really light and my timing feels right, my footwork's wrong. And part of that's because of the crash pad. I hate crash pads. I really do, but I do it for the benefit of other people, not for myself. But I noticed something with my Ippon Seoinage that I'm going to look to fix. So it's little things like that I'm working on, that I am trying to get better at judo. And I hope you all are enjoying that similar type of success when it comes to practice. Now, on this episode, I'm really going to cover just a couple of items. I got a really interesting email talking about, leg grabs again, but whether or not the traditional judo strong countries are driving policy within the IJF. And I want to explore that a little bit. I thought it was an interesting email. And I'm also going to talk about Ronda Rousey's promotion to Rokudan at the International Sports Hall of Fame in Columbus, Ohio, which was at the Arnold Expo, which is, from what I understand, an annual expo that takes place where it's for bodybuilding and for other types of sports and fitness and that kind of thing. So I guess it's a big deal. I also have a very special guest. Steve Scott joins me later on the podcast to discuss those events. And as usual, I've got the housekeeping items and the listener reaction and all the usual stuff that I do on this hideous podcast. Now, before I get into anything else, there's the housekeeping items that I want to cover. And for those who may be listening for the first time, the housekeeping items is the part of the podcast where I discuss things that are not specifically related to judo. That could be, things that I've watched on movies. That could be something I saw on TV. That could be something that I experienced over the past couple of weeks since my last episode. There's actually a few things that I want to cover. Within the past couple of weeks, I took my wife to see Phantom of the Opera at the local theater here in Tampa called the Straz Center. And I gotta say, I love live performances. I love live acting, theater, opera, music, musicals, all that kind of stuff. I don't get to go as often as I would like. Tickets for these type of events tend to be pretty pricey, and we had good seats for this event, in my opinion, down on the lower bowl, maybe a little bit past halfway, and it's really something else to see live performances with people who are immensely talented in the way that they are. On the way that they were on that stage. It's just, it can really move your emotions. It really just inspires you to be better than who you are. And it was just an amazing performance. It's not the first time that I've watched Phantom of the Opera. I've seen it live previously. I've seen it on television. There's also the movie. But there was something about this rendition of Phantom of the Opera that I found the most entertaining. I don't recall there being scenes done in a certain way in previous renditions that I've watched that were humorous. They added a little bit of humorous spots here, there, in a couple of places. Well done. It wasn't a laugh fest, but they were just little wrinkles and little touches that they added to the performance that I thought was brilliant. And it was just really nice to see. So the performance lasted about 2.5 hours, maybe almost 3 hours. There was an intermission. The set was phenomenal, and everybody's performance was on point. And like I said, it's just one of those things that just really inspires you and really can touch you in a different way that only being around such great performers can do. And I liken it to when you are on the mat with somebody who is just truly exceptional in judo or maybe in for many of you in Os Nation, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, legends. You step on the mat with them, you roll with them, you grip up with them. It's just truly a different experience, and it's like being in the presence of a Michelangelo or some great artist and some great performer that you're there and you feel it, and you wonder to yourself, how is it that there are people out there in judo or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that are just so special, and you just want to have a little bit of that experience, and just you wish that you could just be somewhere even close to that. Like I see, whenever Neil Adams does his tai otoshi, it's just, when you see that, it's like a work of art. Or when you see Kashiwazaki do his tomoinagi, it's such a work of art. And when you see it, and if you're lucky enough, one of the few out there who have been lucky enough to experience it, there's just a feeling that you can't describe. And I've done randori with Olympians in the past. I've done randori with people who are high-level players. And it's like when you grip up with these people and you have the true joy and pleasure of just being tossed around with ease by these people, it really inspires you to want to train harder, to want to be better, and to improve yourself in a way that maybe prior to that moment you just kind of, I'm not suggesting you go through the motions, but you're doing your best, but you're doing your best because you want to improve, but not because maybe perhaps you're inspired to be better. And it's just those moments for me to come across such talented individuals in judo are not very common. But when I do have those opportunities, it feels like a blessing. It really does to me. And I'm sure you guys out there, whatever sport you're training in, whether it's judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, sambo, whatever the case may be, you come across these exceptional people. You feel like you're in the presence of greatness, and it inspires you. And I felt sitting at the Phantom of the Opera yesterday, it's just an inspirational place to be, and very moving. Over that same weekend, I had an opportunity to watch Black Panther. And I gotta say, for a origin type movie, well, it wasn't truly an origin movie. It was of sorts. It's probably one of the best origin superhero movies that I've watched since Iron Man. I still, in terms of origin movies, I like Iron Man the best. But Black Panther is definitely a very close second for me. And I actually thought the story was a lot more significant in terms of really developing history than I've seen in other origin stories. I just thought it was fascinating. I thought the action was just great. And I'm really not trying to I'm trying to not spoil the movie for anybody, because I know it's still relatively new. It's been in the theater for about 2 weeks, and if you're not familiar with the Black Panther, he's a character in the Marvel cinematic, well, not just the cinematic universe, but Marvel comic books. He is a king of a fictional country called Wakanda, and you've seen him in the not the Avengers movie. It was actually Captain America: Civil War. Yeah, pardon me. I always, every time I see Civil War, I think of it as an Avengers movie, and it's not. It's a Captain America movie. But anyway, it was excellent. If you guys go see it, stick around for the end credits, because there's 2 pretty significant scenes, especially after all the credits. There's a final scene after every single credit has rolled. It's about 5 minutes of credits, and you get you get the bonus scene at the very end, and one before the credits really start rolling. So yeah, go ahead and see it. I highly recommend it. If I were to rate it on a scale on 1 to 10, I'd give it a solid 8. Because a solid 8 is different than a regular 8, I guess. All right, anyway, what's next? Oh yeah, it's time for my favorite segment of the Judo Chop Suey podcast.
What time is it?
Listener reaction. And for this week, I got a voicemail. I got a voicemail from a fellow named Ray. So Ray, take it away. Unintentional rhyme.
Hello, Judo Dave. I'd love to co-host with you, if you would have me. I'd love to talk about being a middle-aged judoka with children that do judo. I do video production as part of my day job, so I meet all the equipment requirements that you asked for in episode 43. Let me know. Thanks.
Congratulations to you, Ray. You are the winner of the inaugural, very first, which I'm being redundant there, win a spot on the Judo Chop Suey podcast contest. Congratulations!
Yeah!
Actually, there wasn't any contest. I just made that up, obviously. If you guys were listening to the last episode, I said nothing about a contest. But you know what? It doesn't matter because I did ask. I said, hey, if any of you guys wanted to join this podcast as a guest co-host, just let me know. And you know what, Ray? Ray was the one that sent out the first email. He had the courage, the cojones, as they say where he's from, to join this podcast. And we're going to talk a lot about judo. So I'm really looking forward to that. Congratulations to you. You see, that's how I roll here. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek the Judo Chop Suey podcast, and you will find. Knock. Well, if you knock on my door, I'm calling the police because that means you are stalking me because you guys don't know where I live. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the conversation. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time. I am aiming for a March 27th release for that episode. Oh, and that reminds me, one last housekeeping item. I am going to be on vacation between March 12th through the 16th, which means that where I would normally release an episode on March 20th, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But I will have an episode on March 27th. I'm hoping that I can get together with Ray and we can do this co-hosting thing. Ray, I've already gotten in touch with you. I'm sure you'll hear this. And we will finalize a date where we can sit down and have a great conversation about judo and being middle-aged old farts with kids. All right. I've got one more email that I'd like to read. It's from my buddy out in who knows where these days, Christian, co-hosted with me, or actually joined me on the podcast for an interview about a year ago. Goes, hello, Dave. Heard an interesting argument to the reasoning behind the leg grab ban. Oh, criminy. You got to, again, Christian, come on, man.
Come on, get out of here!
All right. You're continuing on. Continuing behind the leg grab ban. You know, my personal crusade topic. Yeah, no kidding. Anyhow, one of my coaches said he believes that it were countries that didn't bring much money to the IJF or the IOC. He names countries like Belarus, Moldova, and Georgia that were the problem. So he believes that the countries that didn't bring in much money were the problem because their athletes in judo were winning, and those who did bring in the money, like France, Japan, and Germany, weren't winning. So in the end, it's a conspiracy. I'm sure Sensei Edgy Bra would agree on all that. Who is that? All thanks, Christian. Oh, man. How do I respond to this? First off, Christian, thank you for the email. I will say this. I think there is something to this. It's a topic that I've danced around and indirectly stated in one way, shape, or the other over the past year when it comes to the changes in judo rules and such. And I really hate to say it, but I do think a secondary motivation to some of these rule changes is to preserve the Japanese way of doing judo. And look, that's upright, a certain style of judo that's very obvious to the viewers that they see, you know, since judo is Japanese, and even though it belongs to the whole world, it originated in Japan, and people want to see judo done a certain way. And I've alluded to this in the past when I've talked about old world championships that I've watched and things along those lines. I think I made reference to the 1961 World Championships. When you watch those old videos, there is a style, like it seemed to me that everybody knew how the game was supposed to be played. And then as judo was introduced to the rest of the world through the Olympics, and now it became a sport where you could win money. There's a lot of there's stakes on the line and things like that. All of these rule changes started happening, and it didn't happen all in one fell swoop, but it did happen over the course of years. I've talked about the introduction of the koka and the yuko that didn't exist before the Olympics, and I've talked about other rule changes in terms of gripping and gripping strategies and such. Take, for example, the ban on the bear hug. Why is that a ban? That is not a safety issue. And we can point to all sorts of rules that have been made over the past 50, 60 years that they claim, oh, it's a safety issue, but it's not really a safety issue. It's an issue of aesthetics. And when it comes to aesthetics, who does the most visually aesthetic looking style of judo? The French, the Japanese, you could even include Germany in there. They do the style of judo that is the prettiest to watch. And there's no debate about that, in my opinion. And don't give me this, oh, leg grabs look so beautiful. No, they don't. I'm sorry. I mean, unless you're talking about throws where, a single leg or a double leg gets them right off their feet and slams them onto their back. That's a whole different ball game. But if you're talking about, double legs that end up in the old a yuko versus a uchimata that ends in ippon, no, it's not more pleasing to look at. Definitely not. I would rather watch 100 uchimata in a row than 100 morotegaris. It's just not the same. There's something to be said about you being thrown in such a way where your feet end up pointing toward the ceiling for a brief moment and then you come crashing onto your back. That's pretty impressive to watch. And I want to be absolutely clear here that I'm not saying that leg grab should be banned. I'm just saying what I prefer to watch and what I think is more beautiful looking judo to watch is the upright style of posture versus the constant bent over at the waist leg diving. That's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So I do think, I think a lot of these rule changes do have to do primarily because of, the demands by the IOC. That I absolutely believe. I don't think there's a conspiracy there. But is there a secondary reasoning behind these rule changes to preserve aesthetically pleasing judo and to protect the countries that promote that kind of style? Yeah, I really can't argue with that. It's been a personal belief of mine. That's not the first time I've heard that argument. I mean, I remember, years ago on the old school, on the old judo forums, people making those claims. And I never really argued one way or the other, but I certainly can see that, and I've certainly agreed with it. Whether it's done deliberately, in back rooms and, where secret meetings take place, and you've got the, Kodokan representatives and representatives of the AJJF sitting in there demanding such things, or else they're not going to show up at certain tournaments. I don't know if that kind of shenanigans happen, but I do believe there is an effort by the IJF and certain people within the global judo community to preserve a specific looking style of judo. And I do believe that. I do agree with your coach, but not as a primary reason. That's probably a second or third on a list of reasons. That probably comes much lower on the list of reasons to have some of these rules. That's just my opinion, just putting it out there. One of the news items that I wanted to get to on this episode is an item that I read on a website called MMA Weekly, and I'm not quite sure how they got this story. I didn't see it when it was released. I didn't see it released anywhere else, and this story was released on February 21st. Headline goes, Ronda Rousey and her mother will receive belt promotions during Hall of Fame induction. The article goes on to say, former women's bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey will be inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame on March 3rd in Columbus, Ohio, as part of the Arnold Classic Expo that weekend. In addition to her Hall of Fame induction, Rousey will also be honored with a promotion to 6th degree black belt in judo, courtesy of Steve Scott, vice chairman of the National AAU Judo program. Now, for those of you who are wondering, yes, it's the same Steve Scott who is the founder of Freestyle Judo and the head sensei of Welcome Mat Judo Club. Rousey is a former bronze medalist in the Olympics in judo, and she will share her belt promotion alongside her mother at the ceremony. Rousey's mother, AnnMaria De Mars, who was the first American to win gold at the Judo World Championships, will also be promoted to 7th degree black belt alongside her daughter. While she's never officially retired from fighting, Rousey isn't expected to compete in the UFC again, as she's recently inked a multi-year deal with the World Wrestling Entertainment to begin a new career as a professional wrestler. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger will be overseeing the ceremonies where Rousey will be inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside fellow UFC champion Bas Rutten, who will also be inducted as well. So this was from MMA Weekly, and again, at the time that I saw this, I did not see any other press release items on any other website, whether that's another mixed martial arts site. So I don't know where MMA Weekly got this story and how this promotion is going to take place. I don't know if is Steve Scott going to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is this promotion a completely separate event? Or is it going to take place at this International Sports Hall of Fame ceremony? I really don't know. I reached out to Steve Scott with the hopes to get more of an answer on this, and he's agreed to join the podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Scott. Steve, welcome back to the Judo Chop Suey podcast. Thank you for joining me. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, Dave. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate your time. So tell me what's been going on with you. But before you do that, I want to let you know that the episode that you came on with me about almost a year ago was one of my most popular episodes. I still get reaction from it from time to time. So I'm grateful that you were able to come back on again, the podcast. And so what's been going on with you over this almost year now?
Well, actually, I've been working on a book. I've been keeping it kind of under wraps, and I've been doing a lot of research on that. Been a lot of fun. This will be my actually 18th published book coming out this year. We're looking later this year in 2018. In fact, I just this morning finalized my contract, I guess it would be, with the publisher. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, we're real excited about it. It's going to be on how and why judo works. It's going to be the biomechanics of judo, basically, and it's the working title is controlling movement, and then we're probably going to have some kind of a subtitle to it. Really depends on what the publisher wants to do, for sales purposes. But that's the working title right now. We're well into the initial editing phase. And it's really coming along really well. What I'm trying to do in this book, and I think it'll be hopefully well received, is that we're showing how the traditional verbiage of judos, things like taisabaki and uchikomi and things like that, really do have meaning. And Kano is the guy that if you talked to me before, I'm a big fan of Jigoro Kano, and he's the person who really introduced a lot of this phraseology into the world of judo and made it kind of scientific because he was an educator. So what we're doing, we're using this very good articulate nomenclature that Kano has developed and has developed through the years in judo into and how it works into kinesiology, because basically judo is kinesiology because it's movement. It's the study of movement. So I'm blending these two, the current science of biomechanics with the more traditional way of looking at judo through all the years of the why throws are named the way they are, why movements, so on. And we're kind of, I think it's going to be a pretty good blend, pretty interesting book. And it, like I said, we're just finishing up the first edit, the big edit. Hopefully out by November, I'm thinking is a date.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. I'll be first in line to put my pre-order in or get the order in as soon as I find out. So I'm
like I say, I am probably the biggest judo geek in the world, and this is a typical judo geek book for guys like me. So I think that if you're a judo geek, and a lot of us are unabashedly judo geeks and we love it, this is the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night. And I think I hope it's a good read. It sure was a lot of fun writing, and it's sure a lot of fun working on with the publisher to get it a finished product. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. So that's really what we've been doing. And of course, we've been moving along with the AAU judo program and our Judo Black Belt Association. We've been doing that, and here at Kansas City at Welcome Mat, we're seeing good numbers of kids coming in the door and working out. And Kenny Brink's doing a great job. Derek Darling's doing a great job. All the other guys in the gym are fabulous. So we've got a solid base here in the Midwest, and we're kind of excited about that. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We don't have any plans of slowing down.
And I'm excited for you. I still watch the videos. I just saw the most recent one on moving Tani Otoshi. I like that a lot. I like Derek's judo. I think he's excellent, and I like the way that he.
I'm glad you said that, because he works really hard on that, and he's a good technician. He's a really good technician, and I'm very fortunate to have him do all the work, because I'm too beat up. And what you don't see on the video, I'm very hard of hearing. A lot of people don't know that. And I have almost 80% hearing loss. So I have hearing aids in. That's one of the reasons I don't do a lot of stuff anymore, because I don't want to take my hearing aids out, because I don't want to be deaf anymore. So we're doing that. And also I'm kind of beat up, but I'm glad I got Derek and Mike and Eric and all the guys who do all the work for me. They're so talented. I'm very fortunate to have young men like that in the dojo and lifting the heavy load for me to demonstrate the moves.
That's fantastic. Now, can you tell me a little bit about AAU Judo? I know we touched on this the last time you were here, but for the benefit of the listeners, which there's a lot more this time around, please talk about AAU Judo and the Judo Black Belt Association. Just give some brief details, things that we may not know, the history, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, Dave, initially AAU, the Amateur Athletic Union, it was founded, I think, in 1885 or 1882, somewhere around there. And it is one of the largest sports organizations in the world. It's one of the largest national sports groups. And I think right now they have somewhere 500,000 members. I'm not really sure in total. The AAU covers 35 or 40 different sports. Initially, early on, the AAU was the governing body for amateur sport in the United States. In other words, you had to do AAU, whatever it was, to make the Olympic team ultimately. And in sense of judo history, the AAU recognized judo as a sport. I think it was either 1950 or 1953. I think it was 1950. And so then the different groups of judo people organized together into what was called the Judo Black Belt Federation. And so the AAU pretty much recognized the Judo Black Belt Federation, I think from about 1950 on, as the technical body, while the AAU was the governing body in terms of sports organization and infrastructure. The Judo Black Belt Federation was the technical body, and they had an agreement for many years. And then in 1978, the Presidential Sports Act was signed. And what happened then was that the AAU was broken up, and each sport, judo, wrestling, whatever the sport was, formed their own governing body that answered directly to the U.S. Olympic Committee. So the AAU was no longer an intermediate body between the sport and then the Olympic Committee. It was pretty much discarded. And so what happened then was, of course, AAU was no longer, it was like 78. And by 1980, in the U.S. Judo Incorporated, USJI, was formed. And I was around in those years. I mean, I was here in Missouri. An attorney friend of mine and I were the people who actually started the Class B membership, Missouri Judo Incorporated. So we were heavy into it. I was right behind it because I was involved in AAU Judo, and then we switched over. But one thing I did, I still stayed with the AAU because, one, my wife was working for the AAU. She had a good job with the local AAU association. And also I was involved in Sambo, and Sambo was still involved in the AAU as a sport. So I was heavily involved in that. So I worked in public recreation, and it was fabulous insurance because I worked with kind of underprivileged kids. So we could get really great insurance for these kids, and, for very, very minimal cost. So the AAU still had its great benefits as a sports organization. So anyway, so the AAU was no longer the governing body. Well, backtrack a bit, In 1974, the Judo Black Belt Federation changed its name to the U.S. Judo Federation, and it was still recognized by the then AAU Judo Committee as the technical body. And that changed. In 1977, I believe the USJA sued for recognition of their ranks, because that was a big issue. Here we're going back to ranks all the time. That was
right.
Yeah, and so the USJA sued and won, and so their ranks were then recognized. The AAU had to recognize the ranks, and again so fast forward, the AAU is pretty much out of the judo business, and then in 1994, some other fellows and I approached the AAU National Committee, the National Associate, the national government, the hit structure of it in Orlando at the time, and said, we'd like to get judo back in the AAU as a recognized sport, and we don't want to do anything about the governing body. We don't want to do that. We want to look at it as a development program, and because we really think it could, has legs as a development program for the AAU, because it's such inexpensive to join, it costs to join and so on and so forth, great infrastructure. They said, yeah, we'll take you back. So we reinstituted the AAU judo program in 1994, and by 1995 we started having our first developmental national tournament, and we've been holding them that way ever since. And then in 2008, I came up with with the help of others, came up with the freestyle judo contest rules, right. And we added that. So the AAU now has national development tournaments or national championships for both the standard rules of judo and the kind of pre-2009 IJF rules that we used, and then also we have a national championship in our freestyle rules. So we have actually 2 national championships a year, just like wrestling does with Greco-Roman and freestyle. So we think we provide people that choice. So that's kind of in a nutshell, the history of AAU. Now, in 2004, my friend John Saylor has a great organization, the Shingitai Jiu-Jitsu Association, and it's a good, more traditional based jiu-jitsu thing, but they also do a lot of self-defense. And John is an old judo jock, just like me and just like you. He was a national champion multiple times, international competitor. He was a coach at the Olympic Training Center for judo from 1983 to 1991 or 92, somewhere around there. So, he's got credentials in judo too. And he formed his own jiu-jitsu group in the 80s, which I joined because it was a lot of fun to do. And so John and I realized, I mainly approached John with the idea. I said, we got so many judo guys in our group, in our Shingitai group, and they just don't want to join the different judo organizations out there. Why don't we have our own little Yadan Shikai for just judo in addition to jiu-jitsu? He said, it's a great idea. Let's do it. So in 2004, we formed what we first called the Judo Black Belt Alliance. Then we decided to change it. We'll just call it the Judo Black Belt Association. And just because it's a Yadan Shikai, it's our own Yadan Shikai for judo within John's structure. So that's how it started. And then last year, people had been constantly contacting me. I've had a lot of actual emails and phone calls from people saying, look, we'd like to have something, get on board an independent kind of an organization. We know you're crazy enough to do it. Would you do this? And I said, yeah. So Norm Miller, our National AAU Judo Committee chairman, I'm the vice chairman now, and we discussed this some length. And we said, okay, well, let's go ahead. And while AAU does not necessarily issue ranks as AAU Judo per se, we do have an organization already in place called the Judo Black Belt Association. And through that, we can issue our primarily brown and black belt ranks. We don't really care. It's a different business model. We don't care, like you as a coach, as an instructor, sensei in your own dojo, how you promote your people is your business. We do have some pretty strict standards that, and we have a handbook that you could follow and so on and so forth, and real nominal fees to join and get rank promotion. And basically this is a developmental thing. This is, is how grassroots, and we are all about grassroots development. And that's what we're doing. And so that's kind of a fast version of what's going on. And this last year, I have been quite busy working with some other people like James Wall, Scott Decker, Norm Miller, John Saylor, AnnMaria De Mars, my wife Becky. We've all been working a lot on developing this JBBA structure, and we got a good one. We got a pretty darn good one, and I think we're going to be offering something for people in the judo community and martial arts community in general that maybe isn't out there right now. It's an alternative. We're really, like we say, we're old school values, but innovative ideas. And I know it's a catchy kind of maybe a cliche, but we really believe it. And so that's what we're offering. And we do have a website. We got a little small website. It's www.judoblackbelt.com. If you want to know more about the organization, you can go there. You can download our handbook. It has our rank structure and how we approach ranks. And we're real educational based in our ranks because Kano was an educator, and
Right.
We view it that way very much so. So that's what we're doing, and outside of writing the book, that's kept me pretty busy. In addition to trying to put the food on the table for the wife and my cats and everything else. So
I think that's really great, everything that you're doing. Now, Steve, before I continue on with the rest of the Q&A, I need to talk about my partners at Health IQ. Health IQ is a life insurance agency that helps health-conscious people lower their rates on their life insurance. Are you someone who cares about their health and fitness and takes special care of themselves through proper nutrition? Do you lift weights or take part of a physical activity like judo? And I'm sure many of you listening do. Then visit www.healthiq.com/judo to learn more about Health IQ's special rates. Health IQ wants to recognize your hard work and dedication to a fit and healthy lifestyle by offering you savings on your life insurance. If you want to learn more about Health IQ's special rates for fit and active people, visit www.healthiq.com/judo. You mentioned AnnMaria De Mars, and that's part of the reason why I brought you on here. I came across an article on, of all websites, MMAweekly.com. I don't know how they got the story. I don't know how they got your name, which is why when I reached out to you initially, I asked if you had a press release of some kind. They were the first ones to report that at the International Hall of Fame, I believe, that Ronda Rousey is going to be inducted, and your name was brought up that you are going to be promoting, or your organization is going to be promoting Dr. AnnMaria De Mars and Ronda Rousey. And turns out, from what I find out, your wife as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right on all points. I don't know how they found out. I hadn't said anything to anybody.
And they were the first ones to report it. I found this out about a week ago, and I didn't find this news item anywhere else. So I don't know how they got the story. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Rhonda's publicity people did that or whatever. I asked AnnMaria, and she said she hadn't had any contact with them, so it must have been somebody on Rhonda's team. I just don't know. But yeah, indeed, AnnMaria has been involved with us from our very start in AAU Judo. She's got a club, her Gompers School. She teaches in a small club in LA. A lot of people don't know this about her. She devotes a lot of time to these kids, and she gets them all over the country for not just judo trips, but they, like when they came to Kansas City, they went to our historic sites. When they went to Washington, D.C. for a judo competition, they always use a judo competition as a way to get them out and to educate these kids in field trips. So she's been really involved with this club. It's been an AAU club right from its inception, I believe. And it's again, AAU has great insurance. These are the kind of kids we want. These are the kind of kids that maybe can't afford a real nice dojo, but maybe they could. But nonetheless, the AAU provides good insurance and practice insurance, and also insurance for her as a sensei or coach. So she's been involved with us for quite some time. And then when she called me, some time ago, time-wise, I just can't remember, but she said, Rhonda is getting inducted in the International Sports Hall of Fame, and AnnMaria, I think, was inducted 2 years ago. So she said, I just want you to, and we were talking about that because, I'm a big fan of Ronda. And,
Of course.
And so we were talking about it. And because she said, well, this is in context to what you and I had been talking about before. And John Saylor and I had approached AnnMaria mainly through me, but I threw this by John, and he thought it was a great idea for our JBBA to promote both AnnMaria and Becky to seventh Dan. They certainly deserve it. I mean, Becky was a world sambo champion, and among other things, and she was a national judo champion, and with she was one of the pioneers of women's judo. So was AnnMaria. AnnMaria, we all know, was the first United States athlete to win a world judo title. So there are 32 people that deserve it. And by the way, Becky and AnnMaria and I have been friends. Becky and I met her in 1973 when AnnMaria was still like a teenager. And I'm a bit older. Becky and I are just a bit older than AnnMaria, but she was from St. Louis, and she would come up, and after Becky and I got married, we always had a spare bedroom for AnnMaria, and she would come up and stay 2, 3, 4 days, train with us, and go back home. But she did that with a lot of dojos in the Midwest. That's one of the ways she got out and about. So we have this long history of being really good friends with AnnMaria for many, many years. And so, she and I have been talking about, we wanted to move her up to seventh Dan, and as well as Becky, really because in our organization, they would help a lot in terms of their technical expertise, and also their higher Dan grades. Then we can now promote people a little higher in our own little Danshikai. And she said, have you considered anything about Ronda? And I said, well, no, I really haven't. And she said, well, what would you say? And I said, I think it would be wonderful if we moved Ronda, in Dan grade, moved her up to sixth. And so we decided, well, okay, let's do that. And she talked to Ronda about it, and Ronda said, hey, that'd be wonderful. I'd be honored. And, and she knows it's not through one of the big national judo groups. It's us. But the thing is like AnnMaria said, and a number of other people in our organization said, we're valid. We're all good judo people. A lot of us have joined together and formed their own Yadanshikai. And that's what any judo group really is, whether it's the JA or USJI, USA Judo, or USJF, or any of the groups out there. There are a number of judo groups out there, and they all have their own, validity, and they're fine. So are we. So anyway, that's how it came about to do this at the International Sports Hall of Fame. And so AnnMaria, and she got me in contact with the people at the Arnold. It's going to be at the Arnold Expo in March 3rd. We'll be doing it March 3rd. And we'll be doing it there at the International Sports Hall of Fame. So we'll basically, before Ronda gets her, inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame, then I will be there to promote both AnnMaria and Ronda to their Dan grades, higher Dan grades. And then like the guy said, then we'll whisk you off the stage and let Ronda get her International Sports Hall of Fame. And we said, that's great. We'll be glad to be part of it. So that's how it developed. It really wasn't done as a publicity stunt. It was just a great opportunity to get some exposure for judo. That's the way I looked at it. And really, when you look at it, if people like what you're doing, they call it publicity. If they don't like what you're doing, they call it a publicity stunt. So no matter what you do, so, but I thought it'd be a great opportunity. And also, this lets everybody in the martial arts, mixed martial arts, whatever world knows that Ronda Rousey's roots are in judo. She's a
absolutely
judoka, and a proud one and a great one. So I think we're pretty excited about doing it within our group. And we know that Ronda's been a supporter of what we're doing, and now we're just kind of taking that to the next step. And as she's growing older and wiser in her years, and we all do, as we all do. It's not a slam on her by any means. Don't misunderstand me. But as she's maturing as a judoka, I think this will be the next step one should take in more of a leadership capacity and role that she will eventually move into. I know. So we're excited about it. And we're excited about doing everything we can for her.
That's really fantastic. And I'm glad you brought up some of these points. I did not know that. I was not aware that you were going to be in Columbus doing the presentation as well there. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be one of those in and out things. And but Columbus is a great town. We've been there many times. John Saylor and I have been there at the Arnold Expo before, which is a massively impressive sports expo. If you haven't been to the Arnold Expo, you're missing something. It is really, really impressive. So,
what is the Arnold? That's a building, or is that an event?
He's got it. It's in their downtown convention center, and that it's I think over a week or a weekend. Certainly the weekend I'll be there, but I know like March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, something along that. They have bodybuilding, they have powerlifting, they have arm wrestling, they have. I don't know if they still have a judo tournament there, but I know they have a sambo tournament there. They have submission grappling. I think they've had maybe even in past years some MMA, but they have booths. It's a huge gathering of not just strength athletes and people in the world of bodybuilding, powerlifting, and so on, weightlifting, but also in the martial arts world. I think they have kung fu tournaments and karate tournaments there. So it is a huge sports expo. And I think from what the fellow was telling me, a great guy named Fairfax Hackley, who has really been coordinating this, old judo man, by the way, from New York. He used to train with Tamok Johnston Ono and knows Morris Allen, knows a lot of good people. But Hack was telling me that I think 200,000 people are expected to be in Columbus for the Arnold. And that's a huge event. So, that's really big. It's a lot of people. So if you've not been to the Arnold, it really is a lot of fun to be there. And I'm looking forward just to going through and, like one time John Saylor and I were wandering around and we walked right by Buster Douglas, the guy who knocked out Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yep. Yeah. So we said, hey, Buster Douglas. We shook hands and, he's a nice guy. And you never know who you run into. So that's just one of those places. So, so we're excited about being there for that.
Fascinating. I was not aware of that expo. I've never been to Ohio. I've only been through Ohio. I've never been there. So that's really interesting. It sounds exciting. I'd love to be there in the future at some point. Certainly not this year, but maybe in a year or two I can make my way up there and have a look at that myself.
The only bad thing about it, Columbus gets cold, and it's a great town otherwise, and certainly it's a great town for the Arnold. From his roots. One of Arnold's early backers, from what I understand, was in the Columbus, Ohio area, very prominent individual there. And when Arnold came over in the late 60s, and this gentleman here basically started the Arnold Expo, was one of his early sponsors, and they still remain good friends. So that's why it's in Columbus, from what I understand. I might be wrong, but that's what I understand. And they've expanded it where it's now they started this International Sports Hall of Fame, and they bring in people from all different sports, and they honor them. And so when you get judo players like AnnMaria De Mars and Ronda Rousey, I mean, they certainly represent us well. And I think they're the only judo players that have been selected to this, prestigious Hall of Fame. We've got people like Bas Rutten and, really well-known martial arts people, far more than the judo people. So, yeah, I think we're, Rhonda and AnnMaria, they've got some good company, and they certainly deserve to be there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I'm very happy for you and for, for the AAU and the J, your federation as well. That's really great stuff. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners where they can find you? Maybe, your online handles, that kind of thing, Twitter, Facebook.
Well, thanks so much for thinking that, Dave. We're real active on Facebook. If they want to visit us on Facebook, they can go to the International Freestyle Judo Alliance on Facebook, or just go to Freestyle Judo or AAU Judo, and they all link together. We also have, for our members in our JBBA, we also have the Judo Black Belt Association on Facebook, and that's for our members as well. But those are places we go to. And also, again, go to our website at www.judoblackbelt.com. I want to give a shout out to my good friend John Saylor, who really has been so supportive in all this and helping me get this judo stuff established. And his website is www.johnsaylor-sja.com, and that's his website for the Shingitai organization. And we're having our national training camp May 19th and 20th in Perrysville, Ohio. and with freestyle judo, shingitai, jiu-jitsu, sambo. We're also having May 5th in Denham Springs, Louisiana. James and Patty Wall are hosting our national AAU freestyle judo championships. It's in the New Orleans area, or Baton Rouge area. So Denham Springs, Louisiana, May 5th, 2018. So we hope people would be interested enough. It is an AAU sanctioned event. And we hope people would want to come down and visit us and participate. And our freestyle rules we think they're rules that make common sense. And again, the whole idea is development. We don't try to be the governing body. We are just one of many groups out there trying to help develop judo in a positive manner. And people like you who have been so kind to us about giving us the publicity, it's really very much appreciated. And I thank you for giving the time you've given me, really, Dave. It's really nice of you.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine and the honor's all mine. Question.
One more thing before I interrupt.
Go right ahead.
I do a great. Hopefully I get a lot of compliments on it. A great YouTube channel.
Yes, you do. That's right.
Go to YouTube and go to Welcome Matt Steve Scott. When I selected the name, I was pretty much a dud in YouTube. I wasn't versed at all in it. And they said, well, what's your name? So I just typed in Welcome Matt Steve Scott. And it's a long handle, but it seems to catch on. Right now we have 9,600 subscribers and it's free. So, and I'm putting out about 20 videos a month. So if on a variety of subjects, primarily judo, but a variety of subjects. And so if people want to come on, subscribe, we'd love to have you. We try to be a good, positive addition to the world of martial arts. We really do.
Yeah. And I am definitely a subscriber.
You are.
I did have one follow-up question.
Yeah,
so if somebody wanted to compete in your freestyle judo national championship, do they have to be a member of AAU judo?
AAU judo, yes, but not the JBBA. That's just an arm if you want your rank through us. So that the AAU does sanction the event. It is that you can go online at AAU, www.aausports.org, aausports.org, and you can get your annual membership. It runs from September 1 through August 31 each year. So it costs, I think, an athlete membership is $29. I'm just going off the top of my head. Coach membership fee is about $16 or $18. Very inexpensive. What this does, it provides infrastructure. It's the AAU sanctions the event. Everyone's covered by their great insurance, including the tournament promoter. In this case, is James and Patty Wall. And so, there are a lot of benefits in joining AAU. It provides the infrastructure that certainly judo can use, any sport can use in development. And you don't have to be a member of our Judo Black Belt Association to go and compete in any of our AAU judo tournaments, especially our nationals. Anyone is welcome as long as they join the AAU. And again, that is for insurance purposes, liability, but it is the best insurance policy out there. Nobody in martial arts can touch what the AAU is doing. And by the way, the AAU also has karate, taekwondo, kung fu, a number of different martial arts, not just judo. So, they can really get the benefits of AAU membership. But yes, you do have to be a member of AAU judo. But believe me, it's an inexpensive price to pay. A lot of people gripe. They say, well, why do I have to join a different organization? Well, a lot of people join different organizations for a lot of different things. We get a lot of people cross over from BJJ, and they sure join the BJJ organization. There's nothing wrong with that. They should. So, again, the AAU does provide some insurance, some great insurance for the participants, and also for the club members when you're back at home and have your own AAU tournament locally. So, yeah.
Now, if a club owner wants to be a part of the JBBA, what does that entail?
What it is, one, you have to be a member of AAU.
Okay.
One of our requirements is you must be a member of AAU. And what the AAU does, like say you wanted to join and you wanted to say, oh, I want to advance. I like your rank program. I like the way your promotion. I like your philosophy. I want to join. Okay, first join AAU. And what you'll do by doing that is as you say, as a sensei, you join as a non-athlete member, which I think is $16 or $18 a year. And they do a background check, the AAU does, because, frankly, we want people who are problems in our organization. We don't want child molesters or crazy people. So they do that. And then you say, okay, well, I do that. I want to join JBBA. Well, what you can do is go online to our website at judoblackbelt.com, download the membership application, or you can do it from our Facebook page as well, and join there. And it's a one-time fee of $50. It's not an annual fee. There's no annual fees to the JBBA. It's a one-time shot. What that does is basically, it buys the paper for certificates. It pays for this computer I'm talking on, my phone bill. It pays for maintaining the organization. And then if you want to advance in ranks, we handle primarily brown and black belt ranks. You as a sensei can promote your own people. That's our business model. We provide, and you can, by the way, download the handbook as well as they have the freestyle judo rules in them, but they also have our syllabus for the different dan grades, and also from brown belts as well. So you can look at what you're required to do. It's black and white. We don't have any shame in what we do. We'll be glad to tell the world these are our promotion standards, and they're quite strict. And again, being a historical buff and geek on this stuff, I'm going back to what Jigoro Kano started. I'm not saying I have a direct connection to him, but we are saying we're going back to the education-based approach to rank. So that's what we're doing. And you can see if you go to our, download our PDF file on our handbook, you can see what our standards are. And that's the way we approach it, like an educationally based thing. So, yeah. And so, but for that one-time fee, and then each promotion, you want to get a promotion, it's very inexpensive. Like all our black belt promotions are only $50 each, instead of increasingly progressively higher. I was compared getting judo rank to like the IRS, because the more money you make, the more they take from you.
Yeah.
so like in judo rank, the higher you go up in ranks, the more it costs you. Like, oh my God, you spent most of your life and most of your life savings on judo already, and you got to pay somebody else a whole lot more. So and that's something that was actually John Saylor's idea. We really established we want a very we really, like we say, sweat equity over monetary equity. And it's kind of a catchphrase we use, but it's true. And so it's real inexpensive, affordable cost for each dan grade. And we're very conservative about this. Just an aside, I had a very nice gentleman contact me, want to know how he could get his 9th dan from us. And he was very sincere and very nice about it. And he believed he was worthy to be a 9th dan. And he was nobody rich or famous that we have heard of, but I was very gracious, and I explained to him, well, we just don't do that. We, our ranks are mainly for the lower dan grades, and we just don't promote people to these really, really high dan grades. Not yet. Maybe some point in the future we might, but right now we're really doing it as a development program, and we're that alternative. So, I said, well, if you're happy with the organization you're with, I'd stay with it. And he said, well, I'm pretty happy with them. And I think he just wanted to get another belt certificate to have on the wall. But
yeah.
And that happens, But he was still, at least he was nice about it. And so he said, okay, well, I guess it's not for me. I said, probably not for you. Yeah. So what we're offering may not be for everybody. So and that's okay. We have a certain niche, and we're going to stay within it. And I think we'll serve that niche well.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I appreciate your time, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity once again. We'll have to do this again. It should not be a year or almost a year before I have you back on. Like I said, I'm a big fan of your YouTube page. I do check. I'm not on Facebook all that much, but definitely the YouTube page. I'm a big fan of it.
Believe me, my friends and colleagues had to drag me kicking and screaming into Facebook. I'm actually a rather private person, hard to believe the way I gab on, but they really dragged me, and they said, no, Steve, you got to get more involved in Facebook here and have a presence. I said, okay. And so we did. And, but yeah, maybe when the book comes out later in the year, we can do a talk about that, because
absolutely.
I think it's be a cool book. I think a lot of people like it, really will. So keep looking for it.
And as soon as I can pre-order it, you let me know. I'll be the first one handing you my money.
I will definitely. By the way, I have some forwards by it. Some from Jim Bregman. Oh,
great!
He graciously wrote a forward for me. He's just a wonderful man. And also Bruce Toops, an old mentor of mine, who is one of the great unsung heroes of American judo, wrote a wonderful foreword. So I've got actually 2 forewords by 2 men I really respect. And so, they've endorsed it. And I sent them the early, manuscripts, and they looked it over for me. And, they sent me back some great ideas that I used in actual, editing of the manuscript. So they're on board with it. And I figured, well, if I got those guys who I dearly respect and deeply respect, I think it's going to be a good book. So I think everybody will enjoy it once it comes out.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And definitely once it gets time to release it, I want you back on the podcast.
I'll get a hold of you. I guarantee it.
All right, Steve. Well, thanks again for your time. You have a good evening, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Dave. God bless. Take care, buddy.
All right. Take care. Bye. Man, what a great guy. I tell you, one of these days, I hope this year I can make a trip up to Welcome Mat Judo Club. I want to meet Steve in person and spend some time talking judo, certainly off the record, and just talking about learning more from him and being a student in his class, even if it's just for one day. I think the world of him. I think he's a great guy. I think it really comes through in the interview there how dedicated he is to judo, and I can't wait to read his book. Yeah, that's going to be a very, very interesting read. I didn't realize he had written so many other books. I'm going to take a look out for that. I don't know if they're on Amazon. I don't know if there's a way if there's an online store somewhere. So I'll take a peek to see if there's anything out there that I can find online. But what a wonderful human being. So since the recording of that interview, he sent me a picture via text message showing him and Ronda Rousey with her promotion to Rokudan, and it's just a great picture. And I've been following the events at the Arnold Expo, and I had never heard of it prior to this interview, but I decided to follow up on it. And yeah, it is a big deal. I just didn't know. I don't really follow the weightlifting world at all, but apparently among the weightlifting world and that subculture, this is a pretty big event, and being inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame is a monumental event. So congratulations to Ronda, and congratulations to Boss Rutan and everybody involved in that event. Now, there's a document that I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to link it in the podcast description. I'll also post it on my Facebook page, which if you want to find that, it's Judo Chop Suey Podcast. Just search for that on Facebook. It's an article that Steve wrote called The World of Belts. And if you want to hear about it, he actually has a YouTube video on pretty much the same subject. He called it The World of Belts. And it's a document that discusses his opinion and his viewpoints on promotions and on the belt ranking system. It's a very interesting read, and certainly on the YouTube page, it's a very interesting listen. I have been on the JBBA website to take a look at their promotion standards. I was just curious because I wanted to see if I could if I could pass their Shodan test, and if I knew the curriculum for their Shodan test. And I could, and what I found interesting is that I tend to agree with Steve that their promotion standards for Shodan and higher ranks are probably hold you to a higher standard than maybe some of the other judo organizations that are around the world. And I don't mean that as a slight to any other judo organization. I'm just stating so this is not a secondary organization where they just hand out ranks pretty easily. And my feeling is, if you're happy with your judo club, and if you're happy with the rank structure within that judo organization, I don't see what the big deal is. Unless you want to compete internationally or compete at other tournaments, I don't see what the big deal is being a part of an organization that may not be quote-unquote recognized by the IJF. And, in the discussion of leg grabs with, with Christian's email earlier in the episode, being a part of an organization like this, like the AAU, gives you the freedom to teach judo the way that it's meant to be taught. All 70 throws. I almost said 67, but I covered this earlier. Last year, they introduced a few more throws as part of the official Kodokan judo syllabus. But if you want to teach leg grabs under AAU judo, and you want to be part of an association that recognizes those techniques as techniques that are legal and techniques that you need to know in order for promotion to EQ or Shodan or ranks higher above, it's an organization that allows you to do it. And that's an organization that says, to heck with what the IJF is saying and to heck with their rules. We're going to teach judo the traditional way, the way it was meant to be taught. And on the other side of this, as a student, there's nothing stopping you from being a part of AAU Judo and USA Judo. You would have to pay 2 membership fees, obviously, and most likely there may be a situation where you may be a certain rank under one organization and another rank at another organization. So you may have 2 different ranks, like, let's say you could be a Shodan under USA Judo, but a Nidan under the JBBA. And you may have 2 different ranks from 2 different organizations, and I don't think that's a big deal either. And given the fact that the promotion standards for the JBBA are very comparable to what I've seen from my state governing body under USA Judo, so if a person under the JBBA, part of AAU Judo, wanted to promote one of their students to Shodan, they could also, if they're part of USA Judo as well, they could probably fill out the paperwork and start that process as well, because given the standards are similar, they're probably going to get their Shodan through USA Judo as well. But look, I don't want to get sidetracked on promotions and stuff. My overall point is, if you are unhappy about how the IJF is changing the rules and stripping away techniques that have been staples of judo's history, you could find there are plenty of clubs out there, I am sure, that you could find that you could practice at that's going to allow those techniques. And look, if somebody came to my club, they wanted to practice leg grabs, I would not stop. Well, it's not really my club, but you know what I mean. I would not stop them. I would not say, hey, that's against the rules or anything like that. You practice judo the way that you want to practice judo. Really, very few people as a whole compete in tournaments where they get points toward a national ranking. There's a lot of kids that do that, and there are plenty of judo clubs for those type of students, those type of competitors. But if you're just a recreational person and you don't want to be hamstrung by the IJF and their rules that trickle down to the national governing bodies, there's other options out there. Whether you want to pursue those options and whether you want to be a part of it, well, that's on you. All right, well, I think I've blabbed on long enough. So I think I'm going to end things here. It's a good stopping point for me. So with that, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Train hard. Stay safe out there. And until next time, be after my trip, I'm out.
Oppan Gangnam Style.